right from the start, you can see this fascination with all things Oriental. I have a new song that I just recorded a couple days ago that'll be out. This is an exclusive about the Earth being flat. If I had died in the summer of 2006, then Rucka Rucka Ali would have never been born. And I mean, the battle is bigger than that. The battle is really about every individual saying, like, what do I want? Do I believe it's possible to be happy? Do I believe success is possible? What does success mean to me? And am I willing to work for it? If you're as an individual, if you're willing to put yourself through some discomfort on your way to getting what you want, I think good times are ahead.
I'm a physician, like those myths and truths in talking about some controversial subjects that relate to health. Mm-hmm. And vegan is a big deal.
That our vegan said, "Oh, great! Finally, we get a song too. Like this is my new theme song." So, I mean, vegans rhymes with heathens, which was the 21 Pilot song. So, the creative process just kind of goes the way that it does. It's like once I have like kind of a one line or kind of a theme, like with the Pope or with I can do whatever, I'm white. It's like you just kind of write around that, and there is a craft to it. You are kind of using building blocks. It does need to cohere. It does need to be sort of consistent with itself. I really don't like lyricists, and it used to be a lot of people were doing parodies. Back when I started, it was a very popular thing for people to do on YouTube. And some of them would just say the most random things. Like they would just throw in the most random lyrics. This guy named Computer Nerd, like 6581, like a bunch of numbers. He was so unfunny. I hate to be negative, but he would just say the most random things. But yeah, I do see it as a project. I do see it as like a writing project. So it does need to kind of paint a certain picture with words.
Is there anything that you're most proud and or something that you don't like and you're ashamed, but and how you deal with it? Have you deleted something because oh no, this is garbage?
Oh, good question. I mean, back in the day, I did a song called Banana Peels, which was sort of, the song was Battlefield, and I did Banana Peels, and I did like this dramatic song. Some people love it so much. Some people really loved that song. I just remember being like, this was not my best. And also things that I wrote when I was going through like tough times, like around the time that I quit drinking and I quit smoking weed, I was sort of at my worst, I felt. And the early stages of sobriety, also I felt like I wasn't inspired. So I was just kind of writing out of habit. So a lot of what I kind of released back then, I don't find funny, I think, because of what I associate with it. But some of my most popular things also were written around that time, like Only 17. There's a classic song that just won't go away. Only 17. It was, and the Justin's Beaver, that was a really popular thing that I wrote around that time too.
The Only 17 was just like a parody, or was kind of like a personal experience?
It wasn't a personal experience. It was a parody, but it still felt a little bit like I wasn't sure, like, should I write this? Is this like a confession of guilt?
But yeah, that's why the question.
There was something magical about that. I mean, people still talk about it to this day. I think the contrast, or going from like having sex, jump over to you're in prison getting raped, back to having sex, back to prison, jumping back and forth. And just the mixture of all these different areas of life, like from dating someone who lied to you, or having sex with someone who lied, and then jumping over to like the law and the general, I mean, the more fundamental issue of like realizing something that you didn't know before, like open my eyes, yeah, like it was this big revelation. So there's something very poetic about that, but it's so vulgar at the same time. So yeah, there was something magical about that one. That one was just it was a home run. Yeah,
that song is very special.
Very special. Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I like that
It's
one.
like is we're fan of them, and then it became a song.
I love Ninja
Was
Turtles.
that
As
what?
you can see, I have the arcade cabinet behind me. So I think to me Ninja Turtles signifies a certain feeling in early childhood, like the image of the opening theme song or the movies. I have the poster of the first Ninja Turtle movie in another room. It's it's nostalgic, and it was one of the first earliest examples of a hero, of like people fighting for something, and but they're also funny, they're also having a fun doing it, they don't have to lose, they don't have to be cold and sacrificing. So there was something about it that I think spoke to me, and kind of that the song that's a parody of is Teenage Dirtbag, which is also a very relatable song to a lot of people. I mean, the feeling of rejection, not only rejection, but feeling like the fear to approach somebody that you find attractive, I think is very relatable to a lot of people, especially young people. So interesting that you would bring that up. It was I think maybe the first time I ever said I'm going to do a parody of a song from like 10 years ago, not just what's popular right now. At the time, I liked a girl, and she was, I took her out on a date, so I like had the courage to kind of make plans and all that. Um, and then she told me, like, we had plans to meet up again, but she told me, I'm starting to see somebody else, and I want to see where that goes. So, you're great, but I like this other guy better.
Maybe what was that like one of very popular songs? You have like this measurement, you kind of follow what is more popular, you try to go more trending, or it's just like natural?
It needs to be natural, just so like a song might be popular, but if it doesn't have like any potential for a parody, I can't force it. But like that song Teenage Dirtbag, it was the number one song for a while in the year 2000 or so. So it was popular, but today it's basically unknown by most people. But to me, it was on my mind. Like I listened to it because like some girl didn't want me, and then I wrote, this really good parody. I mean, it is a good song
It
parody
is,
in
it
that it
is.
refers to the original. A lot of my songs do this. It kind of follows the progression of the original song. So in the original song, the girl finally approaches the narrator. She approaches the guy and says, I got 2 tickets to Iron Maiden, baby. I'm a just teenage dirtbag baby like you.
I
And
love the
but now here
impersonations.
we've got Shredder telling the Ninja Turtles, I've got some bitches inside with weed and pizza. I'm just a teenage mutant ninja like you. It's like, I just love that. I love that feeling of like not only completing this my parody, but also kind of having such a great parallel to the original song. So that got me to write that. And then like either like the next day or the day before or at some point around then, I also like the What the Fox Says was on the radio. Like it was even a YouTube, one of the only YouTube songs or one of the early YouTube hits that became a radio single as well. And I thought to myself, like, What the Black Says, even for me, that was really, really pushing the limit of like what's acceptable to say. Like, okay, there's a line between good craftsmanship, like good writing, versus just listing a bunch of curse words. So when I had that idea, What the Black Says, I was thinking like, well, is this a clever parody, or is it just is it just saying a bunch of racist stuff? So just to finish this story, I had this idea for What the Black Says, and I was like, I'm gonna do this, and this is gonna be like the best thing ever, and it was, and it blew up on YouTube, like in a way that I hadn't really done in a few years, and YouTube by 2013 was much bigger than it had been in 2008. So having a hit in 2013 meant something new. So this was kind of a comeback song for me at that time in 2013. There were people who were like, whatever happened to Rucka? Like, why hasn't he done anything big lately? I mean, I'd had some, I had some pretty big hits. I think the Obama song, Thrift Shop, the Obama stuff. I was doing all right. But now What the Black Says came out, and it just blew up and really shook things up. And it was kind of a comeback record for me at the time. And again, like what I'm trying to, the reason I'm going into this is that it kind of started with me, liking a girl, asking her out, taking her out. She turns me down. I'm sad, so I'm listening to Teenage Dirtbag, and then I write a parody of that. That's not, I don't expect to blow up, but it's like my thing that I really want to create. And then there's what the Fox says. I turn into What the Black Says, which is like me just like telling the world that I'm like going to do what I want to do and that this is going to be the best thing ever. So, you need to live, like you need to challenge yourself. You need to leave your comfort zone. This was when I was about 2 years sober. So going through a lot of trials, a lot of emotional challenges to adjust. I mean, just dealing with rejection without the aid of alcohol and without weed or anything like that was like a whole new thing. So I was dealing with something that a person should learn to deal with when they're maybe a teenager. But I was high every day as a teenager, so I never really quite got to learn these lessons. So you leave your comfort zone, you challenge yourself, you're willing to take a risk, you're willing to deal with some pain. It does lead to creativity ultimately. So that was certainly the case. I certainly make that connection whenever I think of what the Black Says. I think of me being in the state of mind where I'm thinking like, all right, fuck what anybody thinks. I know this should exist, and I'm going to show. I'll show her. I'll show that girl who didn't want me. I'll show everybody else that I'm not done. And I created this thing that it really is like a great great parody of the original. Like it is like how does the original go? Yeah. Sin goes all the animal going through all the different animals, and I'm going through all the different cultures and races. It was well done, and I think it touched a lot of lives. I think a lot of people were impacted positively by that song.
Definitely.
Yeah.
In different ways, you definitely touch people, and that is awesome.
I have touched many people.